Right, today we're going to be talking about graphing linear equations. And so we're going to go ahead and see if we can go ahead and take what we know about slope, take what we know about points, and then see if we can answer this question here. Can I graph linear equations? And that's going to be our main focus today. Make sure we take notes on this today so we can go ahead and have references when we approach problems in our homework. So what we have here is we have an equation. We have an equation, and our goal is to go ahead and graph on a 2D plane, in the XY plane. And so what we need to do here is use this equation. So we're going to go ahead and do steps. Step one would be use this equation, and step two would be plug in your x value. So step one, use this equation. Step two is plug in your x value. Now, when we choose x values, keep in mind that you want to use all parts of the graph. Okay, so when you choose x values, make sure you choose x values that are going to be in this area over here, and then x values are going to be in this area over here. So when we graph this, we can get the graph in every single quadrant. So review: quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and then finally quadrant 4. So we have 4 quadrants, and when you graph, you want to make sure you graph in all 4 quadrants, so your graph can capture the entire appearance of that equation. And so what we're going to do is we're going to choose x values on both sides. So we're going to choose an x value of -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And all we do is we plug in our x value in here. So we're doing for every single part. Is we are plugging in the x values into that equation. Okay? And then we solve. So we put a -2 here, -1 here, a 0 here, a 1 here, and a 2 here. And then whatever we get, that's going to be our y value. So y equals whatever this is. So what's -2 plus 1? That's going to be -1. What's -1 plus 1? That's going to be 0. What's 0 plus 1? That's going to be 1. What's 1 plus 1 is going to be 2. What's 2 plus 1 is going to be 3. So notice now, step 3 is going to be here. Step 3 is putting our x and y coordinates in point formation. Or point notation, I'm sorry. Point notation. So we have -2 for my x. My y value is going to be -1. Over here, my x is going to be -1. My y is going to be 0. And so you do this for all these points. Okay. Now in terms of this now we're at a point where we can plot our points. So we learned how to plot points on a 2D plane, and that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to go ahead and plot the first one. Is going to be -2 and 1. So -2 and -1 is going to be there. My first point. My second point is going to be -1 and 0. So -1 and 0. It's going to be there. My third point is going to be 0 and 1. So 0 and 1 is going to be here. Next, we're going to do is we're going to say it's going to be 1 and 2. So 1 and 2. So now what we're going to do is we're going to keep going. 2 and 3. 2 and 3. And so now we have points that they all look like in a straight line, except for point 1. Point 1 looks a little off, but it's going to be fine because it is an x value of -2. So we're at -1 and -2. And we are going down 1 unit. Unless, yep, it's supposed to be up here. Down 1. There it is. Okay. So again, all these points correspond to my to the values that I got, and then I simply just go ahead and graph. And when you graph, you go ahead and you as best you can. So again, this goes forever. If you want, you can say, well, you know what, this is going to go like this, it's going to go down like this. I don't have a ruler, but you get the idea. And so now we learn how to graph a linear equation. So now we're going to find the slope. Okay, so we already graphed. Now we're going to find the slope. Okay, and slope is going to be your m value. It's going to be rise over run. So to go ahead and find the slope, all we do is pick a point, any point that we graph, and we find how many points did we go up and over. Well, in this case, we went up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. So what we're doing is my rise is going to be up 1 and over 1. So my slope is going to be 1 over 1. Okay? That's how we find slope. You could also find slope a different way by using algebra. So we're going to do that right now. So we're going to use this equation that we know before, and you're going to pick any points, right? Doesn't matter. What I'm going to pick is I'm going to pick this point here, and I'm going to pick the last point. So when I plug that in, again, this is my first point. My first point is going to be my y1, x1. My second point is going to be x2, y2. And so I'm going to pick my y2. So my y2 is going to be 3 minus, so again, 3 minus, okay? What's my y1? My y1 is going to be up here, -1. On the bottom, what's my x2? My x2 is going to be my second point. It's going to be 2 minus my x1. What's my x1? It's going to be -1. I'm sorry, -2. Okay. So now we evaluate. 3 minus a -1 is going to be a +4. Sorry, negative is going to be positive. Same thing down here, negative is positive, so 2 plus 2 is going to be 4. This reduces into 1 over 1, which is my slope up here. So, we have learned how to find slope graphically by just looking at my rise and run, or we use the slope equation to go ahead and find slope algebraically using algebra. So I hope this was useful and helpful.